Welcome to On the Point Podcast, a podcast for all things Overwatch with a heavy focus on League, discussing roster moves, weekly matchups, and the playoffs, y'all.
Yeah, it's coming. We're rapidly approaching the end game here.
I appreciate that everyone's brackets are basically on fire and that nobody predicted anything like this. Like, I'm pretty sure nobody's brackets made it through all of this intact. And I would love to see what the best looking bracket looks like right now, because mine went up in smoke after the first match. So forget it.
Yeah, I would genuinely love to see like what percentage of brackets were correct.
Well, I believe at one point during the Washington-Dallas match, they announced that there were only 4 brackets that were still correct at that point, and 2 of them had picked Washington and 2 of them had picked Dallas. So I'd be interested to see where those 2 Washington brackets are now, if that was some 500 IQ play or if that was just really good luck.
Now I'm just looking it up to see if there's any like accessible information on this.
Ooh, no. In the meantime, hi, I'm Katie. I'm the support main.
I'm CJ, I'm the tank main.
And have you found anything fun about brackets?
Not yet.
Because I don't even remember what my bracket was. I just know that it's completely fucked and that I predicted 50% of the teams that are going to finals, but I'm pretty sure it's the same 50% that everyone predicted.
I didn't even bother making one, so
I did because there was $100,000 cash prize for the best one, and I was like, let's throw my hat in the ring. Who cares? And the answer was,
yeah.
oh no.
Yeah, I was just busy and I don't know. With the new meta, there's always a chance shit'll get weird.
Yeah, and that's... Do we want to go over the specific results first, or do we want to talk storylines? Let's go over the match results first.
Yeah,
but we've definitely got some storylines to talk about here.
Yeah, let's get into it. First off, we have... Okay, did you put Houston Outrising to try and trip me up, or is that a genuine...
I absolutely put it there on purpose as a stupid joke.
That's what I thought. Boston Uprising versus the Houston Outlaws. Boston takes the 3-1 win. Fucking ouch, Houston.
I was beyond mad. I was very, very unhappy with this.
Yeah.
Really, guys.
Washington Justice smashed the Vancouver Titans 3-0. Toronto Defiant and LA Gladiators go 5 rounds, with the Gladiators picking up the majority decision 3-2. Boston Uprising goes up against the Atlanta Reign. However, they do not rise up to this particular challenge. Atlanta reigns supreme 3-1. Washington Justice versus Dallas Fuel. The tank ran out. We're out of gas. Got to hit up the Arco. Dallas loses 3-0 to the Washington Justice. LA Gladiators go up against the Philadelphia Fusion, and there is a reason the gladiatorial games have died out. Philadelphia Fusion claim the 3-0 victory. The LA Valiant go up against the Florida Mayhem and put on a valiant effort that actually goes their way. 3-2 victory for the Valiant. Washington Justice go up against the Shock and have an absolute 5-round slugfest, with the Shock eking out a win 3-2. Atlanta Reign goes up against the Paris Eternal, and Paris's, I guess Eternal is more of a suggestion, really, because, Atlanta takes that win 3-2, knocking Paris down to the losers bracket.
Not the bird I was expecting.
No. Speaking of the losers bracket, Gladiators go up against the Florida Mayhem, and this time the Mayhem come out swinging and claim a victory over LA 3-0. Washington Justice goes up against the Paris Eternal, and, time's up for the Eternal. Washington Justice claim a 3-0 victory in absolutely dominant fashion. LA Valiant go up against the Philadelphia Fusion, and this time their efforts are in vain. The Fusion pick up a 3-0 win. Atlanta goes up against the Shock and receives a 3-1 drubbing before getting knocked out of the tournament by the Florida Mayhem in a 3-0 sweep. Washington Justice goes up against the LA Valiant and continues their miracle run, picking up another win over the LA Valiant 3-1. San Francisco goes up against the Philadelphia Fusion and picks up a 3-1 victory, avenging their end of regular season loss. Meanwhile,
And
back in
clinching San Francisco's place
yes,
in the finals.
clinching them as the top NA seed in the finals. Washington Justice goes to the Florida Mayhem and beats them pillar to post with a 3-0 victory. However, they receive a drubbing in kind by the Philadelphia Fusion, who just absolutely downloaded them with a vicious 3-0 just sweep.
Lot of three, a lot of three Overwatch in
Yes.
these playoffs. A lot of three Overwatch. One thing I do want to point out, and it's absolutely because I'm biased, up until the Justice lost against the Fusion, Valiant were, well, yeah, they're Valiant were the only people to take a map off them in the losers bracket.
Yes. Which is insane when you consider the people that they ran throughout the rest of this tournament.
Yeah.
They
I had
smashed.
Eternal going to the finals. Honestly, I had picked Shock and Eternal, and so, like I said, 50%.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of teams performed better than expected. A lot of them performed worse than expected. And I think a lot of it comes down to the shifting metagame and the reads that a lot of teams had on it, because ultimately this is, once again, we have a situation where a lot of teams, have different reads on the meta and things are very much in flux for the beginning. And it's the teams who can adapt the most that have the most success. I would say, the two teams that have over the course of the season been able to adapt to their opponents mid-match the best have been the Shock and the Fusion, and lo and behold, who makes it through.
Yeah. Although I'm a little disappointed because the match that everyone was predicting to be a huge one, just given how this tournament was shaking out, was Justice versus Florida,
Mm-hmm.
because both of them had pretty much opposite takes on this meta, and neither of them were willing to compromise. So it was supposedly going to be an unstoppable force versus an immovable object, and
Mm-hmm.
it wound up being an unstoppable force versus a screen door.
Yeah, and I think part of that is because Florida Mayhem, I think their comp and their practice was more geared towards, I would say, the dominant style of play that we see in this, like, Winston Diva, Reaper Sombra, Moira Lucio, like this really kind of weird dive brawl going on. And I think they
Yeah.
just weren't. I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that, well, I don't think we can get into this without kind of getting into some of the storylines in NA,
Yeah.
namely Washington Justice's absolute 11th hour just rally for just this sprint towards the finish.
And
They,
that's story. We can tackle that here because that's an NA specific storyline.
oh, absolutely.
I cannot remember for the life of me which analyst tweeted this because I didn't save it, but I saw someone commenting about the specificity of the Washington Justice's run and how they had two very specific factors going in their favor here. The first being that because of coronavirus and an inability to do a lot of widespread travel,
Hmm.
because they had to completely redo the season because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
it made every team eligible regardless of their season. Like, yeah, Boston, Houston, Washington, Vancouver should not have been in this tournament at all if we were just running with the top 12 or 14 teams. But because of the way this post game worked, everyone got a shot. On top of that, we had that rule where we spoke about this a couple weeks ago, where they were allowed to sign players temporarily.
Yeah.
However, the discussion I saw about that rule, and that kind of makes this interesting to me, it's moot now because Justice is out of the tournament.
Hmm.
But the discussion I saw was about how that rule was intended to bring in people to sub in case a normal player, I don't have a better term. It's a fun day today.
I would
A
say
regular someone who is a mainstay on that team, in case one of
a
their regular,
starting roster member.
not even starting, just one of their normal, again, that word, someone with a permanent spot or a season long spot
Yeah.
on the team was unable to play because of travel restrictions, because of illness, because again, we're
Yeah.
taking a pandemic into account, and that the Justice picked up Decay on those lines. So there's a little bit of an argument as to whether or not Decay should have been able to play at all under those guidelines, given that he was meant to be he was picked up to be a substitute in case of travel ineligibility or illness. And again, it's moot now because they didn't make it to the finals. Philly saw to that. But if they
Mhm.
did, it's an interesting conversation to be had. The letter of the law versus the spirit.
Yeah, which I mean, I won't lie, like Decay's presence, I think, makes a big part of this Washington Justice success, though I don't think it's the entirety of it.
I
So,
think you're right. But I also think that, for example, without Decay, they would not have done nearly as well against San
oh yeah,
Francisco.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, a big part of it, though not the whole of it. Like everyone on their roster was playing out of their minds in a way that they hadn't been for the rest of the season thus far.
Yeah. And I mean, bringing in a new person who is a big name that some of your players have already played with, like, yeah, that can also really change the mental of your team. And I think
Yeah,
that was also a big part of it. And I
and
mean, once we go through APAC, we'll talk about the meta shift,
yeah, and
which at this point is traditional for Overwatch League finals. Gotta change the meta right before we go into finals. It's not
yeah,
OWL if you don't do that.
pretty much. Although Decay, just trying to finish the thoughts I had there. Decay also said that he was stepping into more of a leadership role, something he was more comfortable doing and had an easier time of on a full Korean roster. So I think part of it comes down to one, Washington had, more in-game leadership, someone who could like take the reins and kind of, guide their hips, so to speak, throughout a lot of these matchups in a way that they didn't previously. You have Supreme having more time as their head coach, and honestly, like you've had a lot of people stepping it up. Like everyone on the roster really improved, but like the people who I think really showed their stuff throughout this playoffs are Stitch, Janu, and Aim God. Like they all had like game saving pops in a lot of these matches. And finally, we got to see the Washington Justice in a state where it was not just one player trying to put the team on their back with their ridiculous carry potential.
Yeah, and my god, it was so much fun to watch. Like, it was painful
Mm-hmm.
to watch if you were rooting for the team against them, but it was a lot of fun. And it was crazy watching this team pop off. And again, it took these very, very specific circumstances. And honestly, I was calling them the Disney's going to make a sports movie about them story.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, it's kind of Rocky One in esports form.
It's a little bit that, it's a little bit Miracle on Ice. Like, I'm thinking very specifically Disney sports
Well,
movie.
I mean, have you've seen the first Rocky movie, right?
Oh yeah.
So it even goes to like him losing the decision in the Apollo Creed fight.
Yeah.
I don't know. I Miracle on Ice, they win.
I know. I'm talking. I'm thinking more in terms of just tone.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's you kind of lose the potential for an arc like that when you fall out before the finals.
yeah. And I will say, I think the thing was they were one of the teams that really one tricked the absolute fuck out of a comp that worked for them.
Oh yeah.
And the only times they fell short, it looked like the other team either mid match, a la the shock, or from the word go in the style of the fusion, had them downloaded. The moment they were up against a team that looked comfortable against their style, they were under the gun.
I mean, we've been talking about the Justice being they'd been one person carries, Stuff Corey, Stuff Tuba, to the point
Mm-hmm.
where Stuff Tuba became the joke. At this point, it was stuff their comp. So it's less that they're still dependent on a single factor, but that single factor is not a single player. It's a single composition. It's a hell of a horse, but it's still a one-trick pony.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's the thing that I think separates a lot of these teams in the NA region. And I think we see some of it in APAC as well to a certain extent. Because honestly, kind of moving over to APAC, I see a lot of similarities between the Washington Justice and the Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah. So let's talk about APAC.
Yeah. Up first, we have the Chengdu Hunters versus the London Spitfire, with the London Spitfire being knocked out of playoffs contentions. Chengdu moves forward 3-1. Chengdu goes up against the NYXL, and New York rises above 3-2. Seoul Dynasty smashes the Hangzhou Spark 3-0 in a sort of disappointing end to Hangzhou's like late season rally that was kind of going on.
Yeah. No more Sparkitect this season.
Yeah, NYXL goes up against the Dragons and loses 3-1. Seoul Dynasty goes up against the Guangzhou Charge, and the Charge stops here. Seoul Dynasty with the 3-0 win. NYXL goes up against the Guangzhou Charge in the lower bracket and delivers another 3-0 beating. NYXL moves ahead. Seoul Dynasty versus Shanghai Dragons goes to the mat, with the Dragons being able to eke out a 3-2 victory. Finally, Seoul Dynasty takes on the NYXL to try and clinch that second spot, joining the Dragons in the grand finals, and Seoul Dynasty picks up a 3-0 win.
Again, this is where I had 50% of my picks here correct because I absolutely picked Shanghai to be moving on because who didn't? But
Mm,
I'd also picked Guangzhou, which
yeah,
was obviously not the case.
Guangzhou, I think, had a really rough time of it because a lot of the tools that made them successful over the course of this season were just not really in play, compositionally speaking, during the playoffs. Like,
Yeah.
this meta game kind of played into their weaknesses a lot more than it did their strengths. And I don't think they looked totally helpless, but you could tell they were not comfortable with this in the way that their opponents were.
Yeah, and I mean, their two opponents here were Seoul, who obviously had this shit down pat, and then New York, who is still no slouch on a bad day.
So yeah, Seoul, like I said before, is very similar to the Washington Justice in that they really one-tricked the hell out of the comp they were running. And the only team that I think was able to really figure them out and strategically counter them was the Shanghai Dragons. And like you could see by the end of that, Shanghai was definitely kind of pulling away.
Yeah. It is a similar situation to San Francisco versus Washington.
Yeah. So this to me sets up a very interesting sort of situation when we come to the grand finals, in that you've got three teams that are, well, four teams which have a lot of players with ridiculous pop off potential, three of whom are very flexible and very well coached and all like and have the ability to flex comps and they have the ability to adapt.
And then there's
Whereas,
Seoul.
yeah, whereas I think Soul kind of one tricks a comp, like practices it like to absolute death. And they're very, very good at the comp that they run, but their game plans, that's the extent of it. If you can figure out how to beat them there, then you're and you can execute on that before they've, gotten too far ahead, then you're going to beat them. And all three of these teams have the ability to do it. So I think Seoul, unless they really show either a new gear to what they're doing or show a larger bag of tricks, they're the team that I have, I would say, the least hope for.
So we're looking at fourth place for them, most likely.
That would be
And
my
then
guess.
and
Guess.
then an utter toss up between the other three teams. I would say that I think San Francisco has a better chance than Philly
Hmm.
because we have seen Philly 3-0 San Francisco, and that came as a surprise to everyone, I think. But it seems like San Francisco is a little better at figuring out Philly's number and then just rubbing their face in the dirt. So to me, the big match here is going to be San Francisco versus Shanghai.
Honestly, yeah, that I think is the one that I'm the most interested in seeing, and I think has the biggest opportunity to just be an absolute banger of a match. Like, that's the one that I think has the most potential to really just go the distance and see counter versus counter to determine, I think, the best team in Overwatch right now, bar none.
Well, and I don't think we're going to be getting. I hope we don't get a season quite like this again because this season was formed by a global pandemic and
Yeah.
the inability to leave your house safely. But in terms of two very specific, very we have two very different storylines, yet with some incredible parallels in the finals, except our parallel to Seoul got knocked out because there are two very high power flexible teams in NA and currently just the one in APAC.
Hmm.
But we have different strategies and almost different metas forming depending on what side of the globe you're on. It's a
Yeah.
very different Overwatch culture. And when it's not, everyone's in LA and everyone is against everyone all the time. And when it's not, we have a travel schedule. So, yeah, we're mostly going to be playing against teams in our region, but we're absolutely going to fly over to Houston and Washington and Shanghai and wherever else.
Yeah,
With
and
all of that.
this was kind of a thing that existed prior to the Overwatch League, and sort of does to a certain extent in contenders, like as it exists right now. But the like metagame in different regions was very, very different. I In sort of the earlier days of the game, like season one Overwatch League, like the contenders tournaments going on at that point and prior. Like, you would see
Yeah.
pretty big delineations between what was being run in NA, EU, and Korea, where I think the comps are, generally speaking, a little more closely aligned at this point.
Yeah. And again, it's because we have a brand new meta, which Wolf called pig's feet for one of the variations, and I just about lost my shit laughing at that point. Well, the fact that he's like, all right, so we kind of see this Sigma hog being run, and Achilleos is like, yeah, yeah, and Wolf is like, so I've been calling it pig's feet, and watching Achilleos just completely break on
Mhm.
camera brought me so much life. And I want to say it was before the Guangzhou Seoul match,
Uh-huh.
but I just, oh my God, I was watching the VOD of that one because I generally don't stay up till 4 a.m. watching Overwatch
Yeah.
and just completely lost my shit when I saw that. So, Pig's Feet is one of my new favorite meta names. Send tweet.
It's pretty
It
good.
brought me so much joy. I don't think it's going to be dominant for what we see because while they brought
Yeah.
up that Sigma is a good counter for the Roadhog hook, just in terms of being able to have a shield that's immediately there and then immediately gone is very convenient. Sigma also got massively nerfed in this past patch, which
Yep.
is why we're not seeing much of him anymore outside of APAC. So seeing those APAC comps be different from the NA comps, and then this being the first time this season that these teams from opposite sides of the globe are going to clash, it really is going to be a test and adaptation.
Absolutely. And that's, to me, the most interesting part of this.
Overwatch
Especially,
Darwinism.
well, especially because we've got, three of the four teams in here have been the most adaptable teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they're here. It's been This is another one of those lovely things where you get in a deep conversation with someone and suddenly you're seeing patterns everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't have an Overwatch League finals without abruptly shifting the meta right beforehand. In
Hmm.
season 1, it was when goats was starting to get big. And so if a team didn't pick up goats quickly, they were utterly wrecked during the
Well,
finals.
goats wasn't really a thing in. Hmm?
No, go ahead.
Oh, goats
Just
wasn't really. Sorry, what? You
you
just.
first, then I'll go.
Okay. Goats wasn't really a thing in season one at all. That kind of got figured out in between seasons and became a thing in season two. But it like the appearance of Brig definitely, was a seismic shift. And then
Yeah.
yeah,
And then season 2, we had role lock essentially and the introduction of Sigma. And I would argue that one of those was bigger for meta shift than the other.
yeah,
But it's still a matter of and then this one, it wasn't the introduction of a new character, it was just a massive patch. And we had a patch shift the meta right before, I believe it was the May Melee as well, when we got that crazy ass Genji patch.
yeah,
So yeah, this you can't have an Overwatch finals without completely upending the meta right before it happens. And on the one hand, it does keep things interesting, and on the other hand, it's really frustrating because you think you have the measure of a team, and then it's like, well, so much for that.
yeah.
Paris, I think, got the worst of that here.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and the thing that drives me crazy about this is that I think Paris's roster was really well equipped to play in this meta. Like they had all the tools that I think they need to be successful.
But Atlanta is very, very good at being crazy and pulling cheese. And then they went up against the Washington Justice, which, again, the one trick thoroughbred. They were
Hmm.
calling Decay a raid boss for a reason. And Justice
Yeah.
only got knocked out by our two teams that are now going to finals. So that says a hell of a lot about the Justice.
Yeah. And like again, I think with the Justice, it was a combination of factors that led to this meteoric improvement. But once they found a team that they weren't beating in terms of just the other team not being like prepared for this or not prepared for it in the same way, I guess, because I don't think anyone expected the Justice to make this big run even with Decay.
Oh, nobody
Um,
expected the Justice Inquisition.
yeah, and so it's like we have this initial it's the pickup of Decay, it's Stitch and Janu being amazing in their roles, it's Aim God like hitting a new high for his personal play, it's Tuba adapting well to the Sombra. Like it's all these things that came together to enable this big push.
Yeah, this was, I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but it was, and we talked about this a little, very, very specific factors
Yeah, the
coming
stars
together.
aligning here at like the right moment for them that like we saw them go toe to toe with just about everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a hell of a postseason for the Justice, and sadly it's over for them, but I will be very surprised if they don't pick up Decay for a season long contract once that opens up again.
Oh, I think
Which
they
actually
have
crazy
to.
not to.
Yeah, I think they have to want to. And if they lock him down, the only thing that I think they really need to do is find a new like starter main tank essentially. Because I think the difference in their team play and coordination with Decay and with Roar was just so monumental that
Yeah.
like you need to sort of take that into account. And like I heard some rumor, and I would have to source this, that apparently they were kind of planning on having Roar move over to coaching anyway, and then there was all the trouble with Lulzish's visa, and like I don't know how much stock to put in that, obviously. But
Yeah, grain of salt there.
yeah, I think in any case, you need to you need to pick up a new main tank, and I think they definitely have some big name possibilities kind of floating around in the ether and contenders, especially if you want to keep this a an entirely Korean roster. Like just names that come to mind off the top of my head, Changshik, who was one of the main tanks for Fusion University during their like really deep run in just dominating contenders, and has been you know, part of the Overwatch scene from the very beginning. You've got someone like Kaiser would be a great pickup. Like Yakpung has done great down with O2 Blast. Like there's a lot of people you could put into that spot that would match the firepower that you've been able to develop with the rest of your roster at this point.
Yeah, if they can keep everyone they have, essentially, re-sign Decay, and then, like you said, fill in that main tank spot, Justice is going to be a force to be reckoned with
Yeah,
next season. And to everyone going, do we really think there's going to be a season after this? Yes, God, absolutely. Are you kidding?
yeah, it's yeah. The thing is, like I've said before, season 5 maybe a little more up in the air. Who knows? Season 4, 100% gonna happen.
Well, and I think and this is a personal thing for me, but I would be surprised if a lot of other people who follow Overwatch esports weren't feeling the same way. League is a lot of what kept me sane during quarantine.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Oh yeah.
So I would not be surprised if a lot of people who were already into League felt the same. And I would be interested to see what viewership, monetization, merch sales, etc. look like since the switch to YouTube.
Yeah,
I
that's the
actually
thing.
find it easier to use. Like, I'm not super fond of their new mechanic for earning tokens being do it through the website, but just in terms of who has the more stable app, who has the more stable platform, watching it on YouTube has been so much easier than
Mhm.
watching it on Twitch in terms of just technological failures of the app itself. Not the broadcast, the app.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, YouTube is more advanced in terms of just the technology as a streaming platform because Google,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the like the basically the thing people take into account is like the, the thing people think is like, oh, the average viewership on YouTube has been way lower than Twitch. Yeah, but you are not taking into account the revenue stream from the deal with YouTube, which was we talked about this back when it happened, which is apparently a fucking huge deal. The
Yeah.
advertising, the fact that it's streams across a number of languages, so the viewership might be a little higher than it initially looks, just based on the NA numbers. Though of course that's true for Twitch as well. And then you have to take into account that in areas like China, it's not showing on YouTube. There are different platforms for it, and so just the viewership numbers on YouTube definitely are not encouraging, but they are far from a total picture of the viability of the Overwatch League financially. I think it will need to improve, or they will start to lose those other things as people start to think their money might be better invested elsewhere. But it's not, nails in the coffin just yet.
Yeah. I mean, if COVID couldn't kill it, I don't think that. I think it has a lot more staying power than people generally assume. The move to YouTube may not have been the most celebrated. The new way of earning tokens, I've definitely seen people complaining that it was not working for them. And I think, a little tech support on that side would not be unwelcome. But we've also shown as an audience that even when there are technical difficulties, when the stream drops, when we get those weird glitches that came back for the finals where someone will be silent for a bit and then have a chipmunk voice because the audio got delayed and then sped up. Like, that to me was hysterical. That's one of my favorite stupid technical glitches since the implementation of crunch time. And the fact that not only did we lean into crunch time as a ridiculous meme, but they kept it as a sponsor spot and then made it a whole tweet crunch time with your team and we'll show you some fun little behind the scenes bits. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta lean into the meme. And they did. And I think that's the sort of thing that brings back repeat viewers. That we got the face cams back for the players, which was great to see. That they started implementing a thing where you could watch players' viewpoints again. Like, they started bringing back all of those features that we were missing from Twitch. And then I honestly think that I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love janky remote Overwatch League. It makes me extremely happy.
Uh, I enjoy it, but at the same time, I wouldn't say it's necessarily good for the brand.
Oh, no. No, this is not something that would fly if everything was normal.
Yeah.
But it's coronavirus, it's global quarantine, and everyone is doing the best they can with what they have.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, Frankie, for some of these days, she's still in the UK, as far as I know, and some of her streaming time was going into 3 and 4 a.m. her time
Oh, yeah.
to stream the afternoon games for us. And it's hard enough to be lead host just in general, but wrangling Custa and Reinforce at 4 in the fucking morning your time, Frankie is a queen. And
Oh, yeah.
Zoe, she said when she was able to come back on the broadcast, had to go 4 villages over because she is it Switzerland right now? My brain
Switzerland.
is not working. Yeah, she's in Switzerland right now helping her dad with medical issues. She had to go 4 villages over because she is way up in the mountains to, I believe it was a family friend, to a woman who lived in that village and had a strong enough connection for her to be able to set up her spot in that woman's house and be able to stream from there. So it's pretty hardcore on hers and Frankie's parts. It's incredible dedication to the craft. It was a blast to watch. And it's that weird sort of energy that you only get when it's bonkers time zones and everyone's been inside for too long. Like, it's really good chaos energy to have when everything is falling apart around you anyway. It would not fly during a normal season, but I feel like during coronavirus, this is exactly what we needed.
Oh, yeah. No, like, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It's just, again, if you're talking from an investor standpoint, like on the professional side of it, I could see people being a little, even if it's enjoyable from our perspective.
Maybe. I don't know. I would like to think that Nabisco has a sense of humor.
I mean, I would imagine that their marketing department certainly appreciates jokes that could result in sales, like, you know.
But I mean, I'm not the only one who has seen a box of Cheez Its, thought crunch time, and then put that box of Cheez Its in my cart.
I
Like, I know I'm
Mhm.
not the only person who's
Oh, yeah,
done
no, I
that.
know, and I'm not denying it. I'm just
Oh, I'm not
saying,
accusing you. I'm just
yeah.
saying in general. It's a
Eh,
successful marketing technique if it sticks with your audience. And crunch time has become such a meme. I don't think any Overwatch League can extract it from Pringles Wavy and She's It Grooves.
yeah, like, look, all I'm saying is the jank factor does need to go down. That's all.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think it will go down once we get in a place where we can be within 6 feet of each other and work safely. We're still not there. So I appreciated the fact that we had Overwatch League at all during quarantine. Loopy broadcasters at 4 a.m. and jank factor and players losing power in their apartments and having to do sub-ins and just the batshit insanity of it all. I appreciate that we still had it, and it makes for some really fun stories.
Oh, for sure.
Also, it's fun watching Soe make cookies and make her own cookie cutters and make her own cookie stampers. And I'll say it before, I'll say it
Yeah.
again. She is a Renaissance woman.
She has a ridiculous number of talents developed to a ridiculously high extent.
Yes. And they kept using the cookie video as filler when something was well and truly wrong on the technical
Oh
side,
god,
because
yeah,
that
yeah.
cookie video is like 15 minutes long.
It is eternal.
It is, but it's very sweet and also kind of terrifying to watch a woman make her own cookie cutters out of metal. I love it. I
Yeah,
love it so much.
yeah,
I
no,
make
I
jokes about
enjoy
how
it.
I'm. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I enjoy the hell out of it, and it's like one of those things that makes me wish I was a little craftier in some of those ways, but I've only got so much space in my fucking apartment for tools.
Yeah, well, and I make jokes about, yeah, I'm cooking in silver and my kitchen's in bronze. She's in top 500. Full fucking stop.
Oh yeah.
Just step back, enjoy the show, and watch the boys fail at cakes again. Give me that. I love it. So yeah, honestly, I think before the sponsor break, the only thing I want to touch on that we didn't talk about too much is New York. New York's having a tough time with this meta.
Yeah, I've said it before, that I think, for one, I think the concept of their attention being divided in a different way, between your two hard carries in Jonak and Haksal now kind of can split things up a little bit, in terms of the resources. So I think that's one part of it. I think part of it is just this roster doesn't click in the same way in general as their previous one did. Like, I don't think Hotba and Mono, like as good as they are individually, I don't think they ever 100% gelled all the way through as a front line.
You think they're less than the sum of their parts?
A little bit, yeah. And I also don't know quite what to make of the coaching staff, because IMT, who is their head coach, has only ever coached Overwatch for the NYXL.
Hmm.
He was a neuroscientist before Overwatch. So very smart guy, but also a but also it's a weird approach to things that, like, I don't know how to make of its effectiveness, considering the fact that it hasn't necessarily achieved the best results as of yet.
Yeah, it's
And
it's been a weird season for them. And once
yeah,
again, we have getting close and then just not making it.
yeah, and then you have the other two coaches in Garincha and Why Not, and Why Not prior to this, like, has played on teams that I would say have had like middling results while he was their coach. Like the best result he has had was a second place finish in Contenders Korea when coaching O2 Ardiant.
Hmm. Which
Um,
is not bad, but still not the caliber you're expecting for the New York Excelsior.
yeah, pretty much. And then after that, a lot of it's been like third, fourth, but that's also he was the when he got called up to the Overwatch League. Basically, he was one of the coaches for the Dynasty last year,
Uh-huh.
and we know how that went.
The Dynasty is a team that has just not been living up to anyone's expectations of them, and playoffs here have been the exception, but we've already gone over how we don't think they're going to make it too far in the finals.
I mean, obviously, if they can figure more shit out and diversify their gameplay pool, that could very much change. But yeah, they're the team I think is least likely to make a deep run.
Yeah, they've got a few weeks to get things together, but they are going up against three other teams that are very, very good at this whole. They're good at adapting in an adapt or die scenario.
Yes, and that could very well be the make or break difference for Seoul.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, so New York, there's just a lot of things I don't know what to make of. I think the front line didn't really click in the way that they needed it to. I think having two like very aggressive carry players in Jonak and Haksal can split resources between them where they're used to getting all the resources pumped into them otherwise. Especially if you have a coaching staff that wants to lean on their strengths and isn't necessarily going to isn't able to adjust the overall play style of the team to reflect that difference in resource allocation. Um, I'm very sad to see Who Are You kind of turn out to be a flash in the pan and then just get permabenched.
Uh, yeah, it's New York has just had issues.
Yeah, throughout this season, they just haven't looked anywhere near as clean as they have previously. That's just kind of what it comes down to is they have tried to play outside of their normal reactive, patient, super measured style, and it just hasn't looked as good. And there are flashes of improvement, especially when they're up against a team that they can just steamroll on their ridiculous level of individual talent. But
But that'll
yeah,
only get you so far.
this is, I think, in terms of just overall season performance, the weakest the NYXL have looked, despite having one of the most impressive rosters that they've ever had on paper.
I will be interested to see what their roster and what their coaching lineup looks like at the beginning of next season because, like you said, the coaching lineup is fun and interesting this year. And I will be interested to see if some of the players don't get impatient and go to other teams.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a definite possibility for some of them, though I think a lot of them definitely would be inclined to stay together.
A little more ride or die for this one.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are, especially if
Okay.
there would be some changes going on. Like, I can definitely see guys like Sabiel B, Libero, Mono, Jonak, Animo. Like, I think the core members could
Are going to stick
definitely.
around.
Yeah, I definitely could see it.
I think Jonak going to another team would cause an identity crisis within the league itself and
Yeah.
the fandom.
Oh, yeah.
All of us just going, what?
Yeah, that would be bizarre.
I mean, not outside the realm of possibility. Very little here is outside of the realm of possibility, but
Oh,
still
absolutely.
weird. But still weird.
Yeah.
All right. I think that that's about all we have, I say, we having talked for almost an hour about 2 weeks worth of
You know
Overwatch.
what's weird? How
What's
well
weird?
Fred bakes.
That's not weird at all. He's been doing this for a while.
Oh no, I'm just saying it's a level that is remarkable in and of itself, just so far removed from the abilities of mere mortals that it is weird by sheer virtue of how extraordinary it is.
It is, and we're here to tell you how you can get some of this wonderful, wonderful baking into your hands. As always, this podcast is sponsored by Fred He Bakes. He is doing 3 different kinds of cookies right now. He is doing the seminal classic, the brown sugar buddy. It's like a cross between a spice cookie and a ginger snap, and I keep forgetting a molasses cookie. There we go. It is chewy and soft and wonderful. And if it's still 100 freaking degrees where you are, as it is wont to be sometimes, still a fantastic cookie for ice cream sandwiches. However, we are getting into fall, which, as anyone who goes to coffee shops will tell you, is pumpkin spice season. And these cookies are unbelievably good dipped into your hot drink of choice, your coffee, your pumpkin spice latte, your chai latte in my case, your hot apple cider, your hot chocolate, whatever heated drink you like. These brown sugar buddies are amazing in it. And if you want that extra dimension of fall flavor, he is also doing brown sugar maple buddies, which please take a moment to imagine this beautiful spiced ginger snap molasses cookie with this undercurrent of Vermont maple flavor dipped in your pumpkin spice latte. Just take a moment, and imagine that. And then get yourself some cookies and make it a reality, y'all. The Maple Buddies are new this year and they are incredible. Tried them myself, tested them myself. Absolutely do recommend. And the third type of cookie that he's doing is the Big Chip Buddy. If you've ever wanted a chocolate chip cookie on steroids, that's what these are. They are huge. They are, I believe I've been saying 6 inches. That might not be entirely correct, but they are still very large, like size of your hand, finger spread large. Big, good cookies. And he has been posting videos on Instagram of people opening boxes and then just digging a fork into the Big Chip Buddy cookies because they're big around and they are thick cookies. It's like a muffin top, but a cookie. So,
Ooh.
yeah. And they come with or without nuts according to your preference or allergy needs. And Fred has started doing combo boxes. So if you wanted to try different types of the brown sugar buddies and the big chip buddies, you can get them all in one box. He's got different combination boxes of different sizes. Those are all available on his website. If you just want to get one type of cookies and get a dozen or 2 dozen or however many, that's also on his website. Highly recommended for your stay-at-home Halloween celebration where it's you on Zoom showing off these amazing cookies you have to all your friends. Highly recommend for all of your holiday needs and all of your gift-giving needs. These are fantastic holiday cookies. So, if you want to get your hands on these fantastic holiday cookies that are baked fresh, that are never frozen, that cannot be found in stores, you go to fredhebakes.com. It's 3 words, fredhebakes.com, and use coupon code ONTHEPOINT for 20% off your entire order. fredhebakes.com, coupon code ONTHEPOINT. Get yourself some cookies, treat yourself, the world is bonkers, and you deserve good things. So get them from Fred. Alrighty, let's continue on to the news.
News.
Yes, we don't have a lot in terms of pickups, retirements, etc., because we are outside the pickup window and things are a little wild. But one of the, we don't have much for quantity, but in terms of quality, Pine is officially looking for team.
Yeah, the big boss is coming back looking for a team in either Owl or Contenders for the upcoming season. So we will see who moves to snap up the hit scan god to bolster their roster for next season. Who do you think would benefit the most from the big boss, the colossal count, the enormous emperor Pine?
I mean, anyone, honestly.
I mean,
But you'd
no
want to
shit,
look at it.
but
But you'd want to look at a team that doesn't already have absolutely gangbusters hit scan. I
Mhm.
mean, Boston might if they could get their hands on him.
I would say, like, honestly, though, they're more in need of a projectile. I think Jerry, you keep Jerry, Color Hex has been decidedly average from beginning to end.
All right. So then who do you think would benefit from Pine? Aside from, everyone.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think he'd
actually,
benefit from, say, San Francisco or Fusion or Shanghai because they
actually,
already have DPS superstars, but
I have my answer.
let's hear it.
Hangzhou.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Godsby is very mechanically talented, but how many times over the course of the season have we seen him off in fucking Brazil on the McCree, just on an absolute mad one flank that he just ends up feeding on?
This is true. This is true. The question is, do you think they'd go for it? And do you think he'd go for it?
I don't fucking know. I don't know their situation.
This is why we're talking in hypotheticals.
Yeah,
None of us knows anybody's situation here.
I'm just saying on a purely like practical basis, I think they would see the biggest jump in hit scan prowess with that pickup. Um, I mean, I think Dallas might also benefit, but I think Oni God is better than we've gotten a chance for him to sort of show himself to be.
True.
We saw flashes of good shit from him, but it's like coming in at a rough spot and kind of dealing with a ton of pressure and all that. Like,
I mean, a rough spot has been Fuel's entire season.
I mean, there was a window there where it was looking good, but
There
yeah.
was a window there when it was looking. I mean, Texas team solidarity, where we just kind of sit
Mhm.
here and go,
Yeah, again, don't get me. You heard how high I was on the Outlaws at the onset of this season.
yep.
I had nice things to say about them. I had their fucking backs.
Oh no, I'm just saying solidarity in which we love our teams and our teams are just like, we tried, and we're like, we know, sweetie, we love you anyway. it's it's rough. It's hard, but that's okay. Everyone who's a Texas fan knows this struggle. Actually I was
Yeah.
thinking maybe Gladiators picking up Pine.
That would make sense, but I don't think hit scan is something that they're hurting on. Like Bird Ring was fucking over the course
Ah,
of this
that's
season.
true. That's true. I'm looking through the list of teams going, who is their best known hit scan player? And my brain just went, Will Sherfor left the Gladiators, and I don't remember who picked him up because I have all the cohesion at the moment of Bren and Sideshow casting a 4 a.m. Shanghai game.
You know
I'm
what
here, but I'm not here.
actually, I'm gonna lay a scenario down on you.
Hit me.
Seoul Dynasty,
Hmm.
starting roster.
Hmm.
I think you'd need to replace Michelle's an off tank, but
Okay.
Gesture, Profit, Pine, Slime, Bedosian, boom.
Bonkers.
That team is just a fucking bumper's worth of aggression.
Is that our increment of measurement now? One bumper of aggression.
I mean, sure. You know what? The bumper scale will be the Overwatch League's measurement of aggression, much like the Henderson scale is the tabletop community's measurement of plot derailment. Have you heard
And
of?
one Leroy Jenkins is kind of how MMO people go.
Well, have you heard the story of Old Man Henderson?
Was that the Call of Cthulhu game?
Yes.
Yes, I have, and I love it. For those of you who are not aware, please look up Old Man Henderson Call of Cthulhu. It is a capital S saga, and it is one of the best
It,
instances of my DM is a controlling asshole, so I'm just going to go balls to the wall and do what I want
it's a
that
guy
I've
who
ever seen.
it's a guy who figured out how to break Call of Cthulhu to such an extent that they won it out of spite.
Which, you don't win Call of Cthulhu. You survive as long as you can. Call of
Yes.
Cthulhu tends to not be a winnable game.
Yeah.
So yeah, Old Man Henderson is just beautiful, chaotic energy, and
Mhm.
honestly, the way he described his DM as being someone who essentially goes for player kills above all else, like, you don't do that as a DM. If your players die, they die, but you don't set out to murder them. That's not how it goes.
Unless you're going for a very specific type of story and everyone involved is aware of it.
Is here for it. Yeah, like if you're going to set up a death game, then everyone has to be
Mhm.
willing to play a death game.
Yeah,
You don't go in thinking it's Knives Out and wind up in Saw.
exactly.
Like,
And
huge difference.
have you heard of the Henderson scale? Because there are measurements.
I have not. We're getting a little Henderson scale here on how derailed we are, but let's do it.
So the Henderson scale of plot derailment has both positive and negative directions. And it is to determine just how much an action has derailed the plot of your campaign. 0 Hendersons has had no effect on the plot whatsoever. It's the equivalent of deciding to go and get a beer. 0.25 is you have derailed the trains of thought of the party members involved in the current plot and derailed the most minute of subplots, but ultimately, it's like a 5-minute detour here. 1/2 Henderson has totally derailed the current plot, severely screwed the main subplot, but has had only a minor effect on the main plot and the universe outside of the little bubble in which your party exists. 0.75 has totally derailed the main subplot and any underlying subplots and caused minor consequences to the universe as a whole, but workable with some finagling. 1 full Henderson is total plot derailment.
All it takes is 1.
But we can go further, because that's the basic Henderson scale. The excessive 1.25 is a very specific notch, which what you have done triggers the rocks fall, everyone dies response from the DM. 1.5 Henderson's, the action undertaken has caused a TPK.
So Leroy Jenkins.
Yes. 1.75, the action undertaken has killed the whole party, everyone involved in the plot, and it's pretty much just ruined the game. If you hit the double Hendo, the action undertaken has devastated the plot and universe to such an extent that the entire game has to be either scrapped or retconned. The GM has given up.
That moment when you yes and the apocalypse.
Yes. However, there is also the negative Henderson scale. Negative 1/4 Henderson. Basically, the action undertaken has solved the current problem for the party in the way that the DM has planned for. Negative 1/2 a Henderson. The action undertaken has solved the current plot, nearly solved the main subplot, and has had a minutely positive effect on the main plot and game as a whole outside of your party. Negative 3/4 of a Henderson. The action undertaken has effectively caused the party to have to be victorious in all the plots. Success is a matter of time. Negative 1 full Henderson is that you have solved the campaign in its entirety. The villain is vanquished, the disaster averted, the person in distress, regardless of gender, saved. Gather your dice, go home, GG. Negative 2 Hendersons. The action has somehow set in motion a chain of events that will correct every problem previously thought of by the GM for the future of this campaign. And negative 9 Hendersons.
What?
The action undertaken has solved every problem in the game's universe for every living and non-living thing in existence.
How did we go from -2 to -9?
You're asking for logic where it doesn't belong.
This is true. This is true. Remember the scale namer and continue on.
Anyway, other pickup,
so
the pickup we've had. San Francisco Shock has signed Casores as an analyst for the team going into the playoffs.
I don't know who that is.
I have talked him up on this podcast before.
Do you really expect me to remember 200 hours of podcast? I'm
in like the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, so 2 and 3 weeks ago, respectively. Time is a flat circle, dude. It's quarantine.
Anyway, he's from the Netherlands. He's been a coach for 1 point, the Atlanta Reign, and Young and Beautiful in Contenders. And also was the coach of Team Netherlands in last year's World Cup, aka the time the Netherlands actually made a run in the World Cup. They made the top 10 and I think finished in 6th.
So once again, San Francisco is adding people to an already ridiculously stacked roster and support staff.
Basically, yes.
It's kind of unfair.
It is. And honestly, like, I think this dude's a really smart coach. I think he's someone who you can absolutely get a lot of value out of, especially if his strategic knowledge is kind of being filtered through the fucking mind of Krusty.
Yeah,
If his power is being channeled through the crust.
that is the kind of filter that turns straw into gold.
Yeah, seriously.
So, yeah, one hell of a pickup, and then one hell of a potential pickup, depending on who goes for Pine. And
Mhm.
I feel like he's probably going to have his pick of teams,
Oh, yeah.
honestly,
I think
on
he's going to get a
reputation
couple
alone.
offers. Yeah. Like, even if you don't intend to play him all that much, he is a very powerful tool to have in your back pocket, both in game and from a PR standpoint.
Oh, yeah. There will be people who flock to whatever team he goes to based on name alone,
Pretty much.
which is how so many of us wound up as Toronto fans. Because they got Team Gamer Snacks and Surefour, and a whole bunch of LA people sat up and went, okay.
It's true. It's true, and it worked about as well as I thought it would.
Yeah, but I still love them.
Don't get me wrong, I wanted to see them succeed, but I love me some Mr. Logics, but
Everyone has to have at least one team in their roster. I
yeah,
have three,
and I
but
feel I feel bad for Logics because there was a clip on stream like a week or two ago, or not a week or two, but like maybe a week, who fucking knows. But whenever they got knocked out of playoffs, someone like made a comment about it in stream, and you could tell he was really upset about it. Like, dude, I know, I'm aware that we fucking lost. Like,
yeah, that's one thing that I wish fandom would just calm down about.
mhm.
Like when the players are saying, "Hey, we know we lost," maybe like it still kills me that players get on Twitter even if they win and say, "Hey, I didn't play very well today. Sorry about that." Like, dude, you're playing better than most of the rest of us ever will.
Yeah,
It's fine. You did your best. You're doing your best. We still love you. Please take care of yourself. And it's just it just kills me every single time. And I know it's part of the culture, but it's also like, no, don't apologize. You're doing your best.
yeah,
Because you
yeah,
get the feeling that people who go on Twitter and apologize about playing badly mean it. And you
yeah.
see the difference between, and some players just like, yeah, we didn't do so great today, but hey, congrats to the other team, as opposed to, I fucked up, it's my fault,
Mhm.
sorry. Like, no.
Yeah, it's and Logic's also just in general is a pretty chilled out dude. Like, and you could tell this got under his skin,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
hurts
You know,
because that's the thing people don't seem to fucking understand. I think is just nobody takes these wins and losses as hard as the players.
because they're the people directly involved in them.
Yeah, and they have to deal with you assholes.
Like
Fucking
imagine how upset you are when your team loses. Imagine being on that team and being like, I could have done better. I should have done better. Well, if you're getting completely rolled by the justice, the shock, whatever, like,
mhm.
yeah, maybe there were some errors committed, but shit happens. Sometimes you just get completely outmatched.
Yeah.
And that's actually a lot of what we saw from New York in the finals. Not the finals, the playoffs here got just completely outmatched by Seoul because Seoul's on fucking fire. And so it sucks for New York, but
Mhm.
you don't sit there and go, well, it's this person's fault. Well, they played terribly. Like, they didn't play as well as Shanghai, but Shanghai's on fucking fire. You can
And
do everything correctly and still lose. We learned that from Star Trek.
yes. And if your response to that is to say, "Oh, it's this person's fault," well, fuck you. Even if
Yeah,
you
pretty
think that,
much.
you don't need to say that to their fucking face.
There's concentric rings of support when something goes wrong, essentially. And the idea is the people that are directly involved, the people that it directly affects, are in the center, and it just kind of rings out from there. And the idea is if someone is in a smaller or closer to the center ring than you support them. And if someone is in a further out ring than you, those are the people that you can complain to and ask them to support you. When a team loses, the players and the coaches are in the center of that ring. They are the people who deserve your support.
Yeah.
So it's really, really hard to be a fan of a losing team. And it's really, really hard to be a fan of a team when they lose. It's difficult. It sucks. I've been a Valiant fan from the get-go. Like, I've been here, fam. I will make jokes until the cows come home about
Mm-hmm.
how sometimes my boys just have capital P problems. But they don't listen to this podcast. I'm not going to say that to their faces because they don't need to hear that from me.
Yeah.
What they need from me is y'all busted your asses, y'all did your best. I am here for you. Thanks for a good season,
Yeah.
regardless of what team it is that I'm supporting.
And that's just something people need to learn, and that's something especially on the internet is not everyone needs to know your opinion about them.
Yeah.
Even like not every conversation needs your input.
I mean, you're perfectly. If you want to yell things on your own Twitter, that's fine. When you start crossing the line is when you at people who really don't need to hear from you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. It's one thing if someone goes searching their name. It's another thing if you grab them and drag them into your conversation,
Mm-hmm.
which is what adding someone out of the blue is. So, you know, be kind. Understand that if you are looking for support, it's best to look to fellow fans or people who are maybe not as hurt by this as you are in all things, but also in esports. And, I get the feeling that for a lot of fans, this is baby's first sports team. This is baby's first fan experience being a fan of sports and realizing that there is no narrative, there is no script. As much as we joke about the fact that, oh, yeah, here's our storyline. Oh, yeah, the writers are off script, whatever, whatever. There is no script. There's just pattern recognition and hope. So it's different when you can't control the outcome. It's different when the outcome is not scripted. And
Mm-hmm.
it can be really, really goddamn hard. Being a Paris fan this season, doing okay, doing incredible, and then getting thwacked in the finals because the meta changes. It's hard. But
Yeah.
you gotta stick with it. And if sports fandom isn't for you, that's absolutely fine. But this is getting outside the realm of just video game fandom and going into sports fandom, which is a whole other animal and requires a little bit of experience. And you don't develop a thick skin without getting knocked around a little bit. Emotionally, generally. Please don't get into actual fistfights. That's bad.
We don't need to be UK soccer fans up in here.
None of that shit. None of that shit. Anyway, be kind to people. Is where
Yeah.
I'm going here. Be
Moving
kind to people.
moving along. Speaking of being kind, actually, there's one thing I wanted to get into, which is thing I learned today that made its way onto the subreddit, and the latest Overwatch patch removed the little thing where if you type GGEZ in chat, it gets changed to something like comically insecure.
My mommy says I have to go to bed, etc.,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah,
Which makes me sad because I really, really appreciated that patch.
yeah. It was just fun, and all the thing that was funny too is we found it out during a scrim today, where one of my players typed it as a joke after he just got killed comically in just like a comical fashion. Typed it and it stayed, and he's like, "What?" And then our and then after we won the round, our entire team started doing it in different forms to see if it worked. And someone on the other team just just messaged, "Are you guys ending the scrim, or are you just being assholes?" And we're like, "No, no, 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 no!" Like,
No, we're just testing something out. That makes me
yeah,
sad that went away. Namely
yeah,
because I am the person
fucking funny.
who, yeah, well, it's fucking hilarious for one, and then it's
Mm,
also easy to see who's being a shitbird without having to actually witness them being a shitbird.
yeah,
And I say that as someone who will scream my face off when I'm on mute, but will do my damnedest to try to keep a positive mental attitude and encouragement for my team when I have unmuted the mic and am actively talking to people, because that can be a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
And it can turn a team around if you can just keep your mental together. And so it's not easy, but as a support player, it's a survival mechanism.
Yeah, pretty much. And like,
Because if people, oh, go
don't
ahead.
get me wrong, I'll bitch on Discord, but I'm not gonna start shit in team chat unless someone pokes the bear first.
Oh yeah, no, I had an awful weekend in fucking bronze of all things. I don't know what was in
Hmm.
the water, having to report and block multiple people for just being terrible. Like if you're in bronze, you don't get to have an ego because you're in bronze. And
Yeah.
I say that as someone who is hard stuck in bronze, and that's not changing. So it's weird. You either get the chillest human beings or you just get flaming assholes, and I try my hardest to be a chill human being because it
Mhm.
helps keep the not chill ones who are on the cusp on a relatively even keel,
Yeah.
and it helps other people feel better. And that can help your team. So, yes, PMA, positive mental attitude, and also reporting the shit out of people who decide not to do that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, be kind to your teammates, or your healers won't heal you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Moving along, speaking of teammates, we have the MVP getting announced. Congratulations to Fleta. My God, it has been such a road for this dude over the course of his Overwatch career. Because and this is where CJ puts on his fucking Overwatch historian cap for a minute here,
You
but
never take it off.
fair. But he used to be part of a team called Flashlux, and Flashlux is a team that you would think would be pretty good going off of the roster they have. I wouldn't expect you to know everyone in there. There's a player named Wiso who you wouldn't have heard much about, or Vale. However, something worth bringing up, names you might recognize. Probably not this first one. Oberon, who has been a main tank in Korea since close to the start of the game, former teammate of guys like Carpe and Alarm.
I
And
mean, I recognize that name, but not in an Overwatch
yeah,
context.
has had multiple podium finishes in Korean contenders.
Nice.
Next, Koma
Huh?
from Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on there. Also, Shu from The Charge and Fleta.
Uh,
So
a solid lineup.
it's a lineup that definitely has some use, some potential here. However, if you look at their results, they finished in season 1 of Contenders with 1 and 2. They didn't even make it out of the group stages.
Yikes.
Contenders season 2, it only got worse, where they won a single map out of the 10 they played.
Oof.
Season 3, they didn't even do that well. They didn't win a
Oh my
single fucking
god.
map. They got 3-0'd 3 times.
Yikes.
And finally, Apex season 4, they once again only won a single map.
So they're not doing too hot. Good times, great
No.
oldies.
And so the term Fleta deadlift originates from Fleta's time on Flashlux, where there was a game where he got 50% of his team's kills over the course of the match.
Jeez.
He was dragging this team, kicking and screaming towards wins, and they could not get over the line. So this guy was quite literally like blowing out his fucking back trying to carry.
I mean,
And
has that really changed in Overwatch League?
here's the thing: I don't think he needs to as much in Shanghai. Don't get me wrong.
Not this season.
He's a well, yeah, but he wasn't on Shanghai before this season.
Yeah.
But we're finally, he's been a bad motherfucker since day one, and he's finally on a team where he does not need to consistently shoulder all of that weight alone. And he has put on
Good.
superstar performances up, down, left, right, and center.
So this is sort of a finally thing for him. And honestly, I have to laugh a little bit because I thought for sure it was going to be Carpe,
Oh yeah,
which leans into the continual Philadelphia curse of close but no cigar.
yeah, pretty much.
That's just where Philly lives. They've been saying always the bridesmaid, never the bride, but sometimes they never even get to the wedding. Like they get to the door of
Yeah,
the church and then they stop. Anyway, so this is fantastic for Fleta, and I appreciated the supercut of all the hosts saying, the hosts and the casters saying Fleta is meta at the same time. Like, that I appreciate. That's a fun editing trick.
yeah. But yeah, so this is just something that I'm really happy to see because I think it's been long overdue for his level of talent to really get that shot at the big time in the way that he is deserved. I think he got a taste of it at the 2018 World Cup, being part of that
Yeah.
winning Korea team. But now he has tournament wins in with a proper team and not something that is essentially a very large exhibition.
Yeah. And I mean, none of us are ever going to forget that clip of Bren just headshot after headshot after headshot. It's burned into everyone's memories at this point.
Oh yeah,
We will forever remember you, Fleta. Like, goddamn, dude. And they're still moving up. They've got an incredibly good shot at taking it all
they
this
do.
year.
And can you imagine what a capstone to a career that is? Like from where he was to where he is now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm pulling for San Francisco, but I would not be surprised if Shanghai takes it.
Pretty much. Like just give us that Shanghai redemption arc playing out in full glory.
People who have been wearing red and yellow since the beginning, just holding each other and crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't hold each other, be 6 feet apart, but also crying. Air hugs. Air
Yeah.
hugs and crying.
So,
Quarantine in a nutshell.
yeah. Moving on to other cool things. The All-Star skins have been revealed. Celestial Diva and Gaia Reinhardt. They look fucking sick.
I yelled when these got dropped because I have been off and on the All-Star skins and the All-Star jerseys and the All-Star color palettes, honestly, from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think the only one that I picked up was Pacific Mercy last year because I thought that was incredible.
Oh yeah, that
But
was a good one.
I fucking yelled when these showed up.
Oh, they're so good.
I was like, oh yeah, that Diva one's really good. Holy shit, Reinhardt! So I'll be
Yeah.
picking up that Reinhardt skin. I definitely have
Oh,
the token saved up for that noise.
you bet your fucking ass I'm getting that.
Oh, I'm sure. Just man, I haven't watched the extended like making of video yet, but I need to see what his shield looks like.
Yeah.
Just damn, give it to me. And what this also means to me, because looking at the color palettes from the previous 2 years, Atlantic has always had this really nice, like blue and purple color palette, or blue and green year before. Atlantic essentially got the cool colors, and the cool color palette looked great. Pacific got the warm color palette, and that usually centered itself directly onto orange or yellow.
Yeah.
And given that most of my teams are Pacific teams, I basically went up one wall and down the other last year when there were so many players that I wanted jerseys of, but your girl does not look good in yellow. And I hated that color scheme so much. Like the Lucio skin looked great, but the jerseys looked like trash. It's great if you're good in yellow, but I was super disappointed. But I'm looking at this going, we have a blue and white color palette and a green and brown color palette. Oh my god, there's potential. They might both actually look good this year.
Mm-hmm.
The jerseys, not the skins. The skins have all looked amazing, but the jerseys for Atlantic and Pacific might both look good this year, and I might have to put my money where my mouth is and get an all-star jersey this year.
Yeah, I'm
Because,
ready for that.
damn.
Speaking of All Stars, we're going to have the All Star games for the All Star weekends for our two regions. APAC All Star is going to be 11 days from this recording on September 15th. So we're going to have the APAC All Star weekend on the 26th of September, while the NA All Star weekend will be the following week on October 3rd.
And then after that, we've got finals from October 8th to 10th. So what I find interesting, we have two NA teams in Korea. They're Super was talking about it last night. They're essentially flying out by the end of the week.
Yeah.
So I'm real curious as to how they're going to do their all-star weekend aside from being awake at super ridiculous hours.
Yeah. And I really hope that these orgs will give the players the tools they need to really practice and be involved in shit, because Super said he might only have his laptop in fucking quarantine, and that's not okay.
Yeah. I mean, I play Overwatch on a laptop, but again, I play in bronze. There's a difference.
Yeah, you don't get paid six figures to do a thing by a multi-million-dollar organization.
Honey, I don't get paid six figures. Let's be real here.
Yeah, but
I'm a millennial.
You know what I'm saying.
I know. For my actual day job, I am provided the tools that I need to perform to the highest level, even in quarantine where setups are bonkers.
Yeah, and you can absolutely build small form factor PCs that are capable of playing Overwatch at a good ass FPS. Give me fucking 10 minutes on PC Part Picker, I'll give you something you can mass produce. But
I'm mostly just worried about the fact that there's no way we're not going to have players from the San Francisco Shock and the Philadelphia Fusion in the NA All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
It's popular vote. There's no way that at least Carpe isn't showing up, and I will be gobsmacked if we don't have a handful of people from the Shock across multiple roles. Well, a handful of people from both of them across multiple roles. So then, in terms of playing, in terms of practice, in terms of hecking up your sleep schedule, and then practicing for finals, which is kind of a big deal. I'm a little worried about work-life balance, mostly just in terms of getting a set sleep schedule, because bananas. It's all bananas. And again, as much as I love these are American hosts in Pacific time zone who are absolutely up at 3, 4, and 5 a.m. their time doing a broadcast.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's hysterical to watch them go nuts. I don't want the players to do that.
Yeah, it definitely would affect things.
Yeah, so I have a concern, but I would imagine that the orgs and the league itself would have practices in place for this and would have thought about this when they were initially coming up with, all right, so we're flying the top 2 teams out to Korea and then putting them in quarantine for 2 weeks. Let's get everything sorted. So I'm sure they have something in place, but, I have a concern. I have a concern for whoever they are. And I'm sure the All-Stars have been chosen, but at this point, September 15th, they have not yet been announced. So we'll see. The one other thing I want to talk about, which was fun to watch, the San Francisco Shock, sponsored by T-Mobile, did a DPS tournament where they basically individually pitted all of their players against each other in a DPS and support single elimination tournament, and Jake also played with them.
Yes.
So they had a fun little set up a bracket, do a cash prize. They did the whole thing last night. I wound up tuning in halfway through, watching Super give the commentary on his Twitch, which was hysterical.
Oh my god, yeah.
I was not expecting Jake to get as far as he did, just because my bracket had him going up against Ons relatively early. But Violet was the winner but Jake absolutely gave him a run for his money. It was best of 7, and I think the final score was like 7-5.
Yeah, so I loved the tweet from Crust immediately afterwards. All our DPS trash. We're signing Jake for the finals.
Yeah, the fact that a lot of your DPS got taken out of the DPS tournament and that it was one of your supports and a former pro who basically showed up to play. And Jake winning the Widowmaker battle against Violet to me was just hysterical. Just
Mm-hmm.
so goddamn funny. But every time a support hero would come up, Jake would be like, well, shit. And then Violet lost the Zenyatta battle to Jake, if I'm remembering this correctly, because everyone was losing their noise over
It
it.
was, oh my god, I love it.
It was, I'm not sure who has it on their VOD, but if they do, it is absolutely well worth watching. It was just a cute, fun little thing. And I appreciate when teams do cute, fun little things. I loved the Lone Star Showdown that the two Texas teams did.
Yeah,
I love the California Cup matches. Like, it's just fun stuff. And I really appreciate when a team is able and willing to set time aside and just do fun stuff.
yeah, I love those things because it just adds a whole nother dimension, a whole nother thing to enjoy and have fun with.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, extra content. I will never say no to extra Overwatch League content. I really do want to watch more baking fails from our guys on the
Oh my
desk.
god,
Just
yes.
give it to me. Give me the madness. I want it in my life. We need another season of Nailed It, and we're not going to get it because COVID. So just give me that. Give me that
I
instead.
would love to see if Reinforce could break frosting in the same way.
I just reinforce his girlfriend, whose name escapes me, and it's sad that her name escapes me because she's the MVP of that video.
Oh my god.
She is the absolute MVP of the Reinforce cannot bake a fucking cake video.
Yes.
And I adore her. Just what a queen. What a queen. Figgy Smalls is the MVP of sideshows. Figgy Smalls is their cat.
I'll never get over that fucking name.
Isn't that such a great name?
It's so good.
So yeah, we are officially done with just about everything on our outline, and the last thing we have is predictions. And like I said, I think Shock's taking it all. I think Dragons are going to come in at an extremely close second. I think we're getting Philly in third, and I don't think Seoul's going to make it too far out the gate.
Yeah, this is genuinely tough for me to call because I don't think we can count out Philadelphia because by God did they have a fire under their ass right now. Like,
Oh, absolutely. This is the closest they've been in a while.
yeah, they're gonna be putting their absolute all into this.
True, but we've also seen that Shock can read them.
It's true. Like, by and large, the Shock have won that matchup.
I've just generally been referring to the two teams as the orange juggernauts.
Yeah.
Because why not? But then you really cannot count out Shanghai. And I really
No, you
think
can't.
this is going to be a big test of what Shanghai is capable of because we've seen what they can do in APAC across multiple different metas. So
Oh
now
God,
it's
yes.
just a matter of picking up this meta, such as it is, and then showing up to these two NA teams. And it kind of sucks to sit here and be like, yeah, Seoul, but I think Seoul is going to get red very easily.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've got to figure out a little more depth to their hero pool. Is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, because Shanghai was able to pull it out against them. And then our comparison team is the Washington Justice on the NA side. And Shock was able to, I believe you made the comment in Discord while we were watching, the longer a match goes, the better it is for the Shock
Mm-hmm.
because they figure shit out. So they were able to do that
They've got a very
essentially
high fight
cold.
IQ.
Yes. And they picked the Justice. This was almost hubris right here. And they were still able to adapt and pull it out over the course of the match. And then Philly just had Justice down cold by the time they had to face them. So
A much bigger sample size to work with.
this is true, but the fact that we saw Shock just figure it out on the fly after seeing them perform once against Vancouver,
Yeah.
which as it turns out was not the best litmus test for that Justice lineup, it says a lot about the Shock. And if we look at Seoul as the parallel team to the Justice, then it's only a matter of time they show up to these teams and just get red.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we will all lose our damn minds if Seoul wins everything. But I also don't think that's going to happen.
Well, don't forget they do have time to practice the hell out of another composition as well. So we'll see what they bring out. Again, I don't know who to call between San Fran and Shanghai, though. Again, I think it very easily could be Philly in that final as well. Like it's very much a three-way dance in my brain.
But I mean, let's look at the matches that we're going to get on the 8th. We have Seoul versus San Francisco, and we have Philly versus Shanghai. Given, again, we just talked about San Francisco going up against Justice, essentially cold, and being able to adapt on the fly, I do think San Francisco can take that initial match against Seoul.
Yeah.
Philly Shanghai is going to be a fucking toss-up.
Basically, what this is going to come down to in my mind is I think we're going to see in this first round, Shock beats Seoul, Shanghai beats Philly. Then, in the loser's bracket, Philly's going to beat Seoul. And then, in my mind, the thing that's going to make or break this is the follow-up match. Because Philly is going to have to face the loser between Shock and Shanghai, if my prediction is correct.
And we've already seen Philly versus Shock, and that goes the Shock's way more often than not. We
It's
have
true.
not seen, or it would be a rematch of Philly Shanghai. Either which way, this is going to be bonkers.
We're going to see some ludicrously high level Overwatch unless one of them fucking chokes.
Yeah, I don't, given that it's double elimination, I don't see, you can choke once and not get your shit wrecked in this tournament.
Yeah, but if you lose that first match even close,
It's still a loss and you're still fighting.
yeah. You
So
only
yeah,
need to choke, you only need to fuck up once. Coming up short's a different thing.
yeah. Yeah, so either which way, this is going to be utterly bananas, and I'm very excited. And, many, many reasons to look forward to October, but this is one of them.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that's my prediction. San Francisco in first, Shanghai second, Philly third, and Seoul doing their best.
Hey, they could make a dark horse run here. We don't know.
They could. They could. But given that I highly doubt that we're going to have another meta changing patch within the next 3 weeks. And if we do, I don't think that the league will implement it.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see. But that's where I'm leaning for this one.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, what about you? Or is it just a whole lot of, it's going to be great Overwatch, let's just watch?
Pretty much. That's kind of where I'm at. Like,
Pick a
it's
winner. Pick a winner. Do it. Do it.
probably San Fran.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anyone. And that's what makes this so fun.
Yeah.
It's not like last year where it's going to be Shock versus Titans and we go. It could be anyone. Who even knows?
Yeah, pretty much. And
So
we're not going to have
fun.
the flash in the pan that we did in season 1 because, well, we've got the best of 7 format, which has lent itself to fucking amazing matches over the course of it being adopted in an Overwatch League long overdue.
Yeah. All right. Well, that should be fun. I think we will likely come back after the All-Star weekends just for some fun chatter and some news updates.
Yeah. I think so.
Take a couple weeks off, whether we want to or not. Alrighty. And before I do my complete and total sign off, I do want to tell you guys you've seen that commercial that plays with Upper Deck Esports going, vote for the biggest Overwatch League fan. Yeah, I'm in that. I am in that competition. So if you would like to vote for me and help me maybe attempt to win a trip to the finals and my own trading card, you know, all that fun, ridiculous stuff, you go to Upper Deck Esports on Twitter. So it's Upper Deck ESPRTS because I guess they didn't have enough characters to include the O. And you find my tweet that they tweeted out on September 11th, and you like it with your Twitter account. It is absolutely 100% a like the ones that you want to vote for on Twitter contest, but there you go. So,
Pretty
and
much.
I will include the link to that tweet in the description below. So, vote for me, or I'll lose. You can. I'm Katie. You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. I actually did stream my terrible bronze shenanigans in Overwatch for the first time last week, so you can watch the VOD there and laugh at bronze shenanigans because that's what they're there for. Yeah.
I'm CJ. You can find me on Twitter at _rage_nerd. Also, check out Decima Esports. I am the general manager for the Overwatch team. We're making some big moves to get ready for Open Division coming up later this month.
Support T3.
Please do. We appreciate it.
Yeah. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at OnThePointPod. If you enjoyed this, if you would like to support us, supporting our sponsor supports us, so head over to fredhebakes.com and use coupon code OnThePoint for 20% off your entire order. Do it. Treat yourself. Things are bonkers. And as always, we end with the important things. Stay inside if you are able, especially if you're on the west coast of America right now because the air is toxic because things are on fire. Stay inside. If you go outside for any reason, get in the mail, walking your dog, whatever, wear a mask. Support your essential workers. Just take care of each other, you guys. Black Lives Matter. Black Gay Lives Matter. Black Trans Lives Matter. Black LGBTQIA Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Defund the police. Support the post office because it does need your support. Register to vote. Double check your registration, even if you registered this year, even if you're pretty sure you've already registered. Please double check your registration. Vote early. Yeah. And again, support the post office. But yeah, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Stay 6 feet apart while you're taking care of each other and wear a mask. But take care of each other because basic ass human compassion and doing our part is the only way that we are going to get through this. Be kind. We love you. Is there anything else?
Not that I can think of.
All right. See you guys in a couple weeks. Let's C9.